Well, I'm way too loud and I'm way too proud, and I've been called a fool a time or two, because I drink and I smoke and I always have a joke about all the hell that I put myself through. And I've got a few old friends that the good times never end. One call and there's a party on tonight. Well, I'm a rambling man and I do the best I can. You know my mama, she tried to raise me put some hearts along the way, too many names for me to say. You know I never meant to do no harm. I dove in the bottom of a bottle, tried to wash away my sorrow, just to wind up with another in my arms. And I've been through hell and half of Georgia, and you know I need to warn ya, I've never been one to turn down a fight. I've got fire in my veins and trouble is my name. I have never been accused of being late, because nothing's gonna change me. This you need to know. Hard living is the only life I know. If you can't take the ride, I said I guess you need to go. But if you have got what it takes, then welcome to the show.
All right, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
It's Project Dark Corona podcast. Tonight we got a great show going on. Great guest,
Yes, Mike Ricksecker.
Mike Ricksecker. He's going to be talking about his new book, A Walk in the Shadows. All right, that's going to be good.
It's a good book. It's a really good book, isn't it?
Oh yeah, real good book.
So, we are simulcasting live on Spreaker and on Podbean tonight. So, this is going to be something different for us. You know, we usually start the show by asking everybody to, come over to our Facebook page, Everything Paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, Aliens, and Ghosts. And while you're there, go ahead and like us and follow us. And, go into that nice little tab that says events on it. You get to see the awesome guests that we have coming up, like the one tonight. And, while you're in there, go ahead and hit the, that you want to go. And it does an awesome thing where it will actually tell you a week before, a day before, and like an hour before the show. So you get reminded.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So that way you don't, you don't miss it, right?
That's right. Plus, you get me telling you all the time about everything coming up.
That's right. And then come over and visit us on Twitter, Project Dark Coro. That is CORO, Project Dark Coro.
There's that bird.
There's that bird. Then come over to our website, and that's at projectdarkcorona.org. And right now, our website, you can come there and actually listen to all of our old episodes. But the new episode, or the new website, may be up by as early as next week.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I
lot
got
of
some
things
news.
going on.
Got some news of that today. Matter of fact, tomorrow I think I'm going to get a link to get to go play around on it to make sure everything's working like we want it. And it's going to have all the awesome gadgets that you're used to. It's going to have, the events tab, and what we're going to do is start using it and the chat room that's in it to do our shows out of. So you just meet us there, and we'll do the shows out of the chat room. The reason we're doing that is because the chat room that we have, we'll be able to, say we're talking about an object or something, we can literally throw a picture of it up in the chat room. Everybody gets to see it. So it'll be a little more interactive than what we are right now. And
Nobody has to download an app or anything. They just go straight to the website.
Sir. Absolutely. Just go straight to the website and no more downloading apps or any of that fun stuff. What do you think?
Right.
But, of course, you can listen to it on another platform if that's your choice. But
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, you want to listen.
website's going to be awesome, though.
Yeah, you want to listen to like the older shows or anything like that, then that'll definitely, you can listen there, or the website still. We'll have the older shows on the website too.
All right.
Batter up.
Even while you're on the website, if you like the show and want to support us in any way, you can do that by becoming a patron.
Become a patron.
If you just follow us and like us, that helps a whole lot.
Messages are awesome.
And if you don't want to sign up, you just want to hit that donate button, you can do that too, and no strings attached.
No strings attached.
Like I said, we're going to be talking to Mike Ricksecker about his new book and about some shadow people.
Yes.
Shadow entities, either one.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them. But first, we're going to do a little weird news with David, and then we'll bring Rick on.
Mike.
Ricksecker. Yeah.
Man, oh man.
I did that on purpose.
That's twice.
The weird news with David.
Well, thank you, Jason. So, I found a funny one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chewbacca is wanted by cops in NOLA.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Chewbacca.
So, in an odd story out of New Orleans, authorities say a street performer dressed as Chewbacca got into an altercation with another individual and wound up stabbing them. According to a bulletin issued by police, the strange incident occurred on Saturday evening in the city's famed French Quarter. Cops say that the fake Wookiee wound up in a verbal disagreement with the victim that quickly escalated into a scuffle. It was during the bizarre brawl that the iconic Star Wars character turned to the proverbial dark side and allegedly abandoned their lightsaber in favor of a knife. Included in the announcement by the police was a picture of the performer in their Chewbacca costume.
So they did his mugshot with it on and then showing his face for real or something?
I think what it is that someone on the strip had a picture of him.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So while one might think that it would be difficult to identify the suspect, it stands to reason that there probably aren't all that many people running around the French Quarter dressed as Chewbacca.
Was any alcohol involved, do you think?
I would say it's the French Quarter.
Yeah.
We've been there once before, haven't we, honey? It was not, I will never go there again. That's just, that's just all I got to say about that. It was not a nice place. Narrowing things down a bit. So cops said that the head of the costume actually fell off during the brawl, and the witnesses reported that the perpetrator was a man in his 20s, and news of the crime brought with it a slew of Star Wars jokes from people on social media. So, and they were suggesting that the cops search a bar in Tatooine. Or
Tatooine, yeah.
Or in a rainforest on the moon of Endor.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a real Chewbacca, because the real Chewbacca would just tore the guy's arms off.
That's what he says, right?
Yeah.
Make one mad, they just rip your arms off. Yeah. So I guess so. Oh, that's the end of it.
Is that the end?
That's the end, Jason.
Chewbacca.
We
wanna, let's get serious now and bring on
serious.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I want to.
That's like XM,
I like
right?
these
Sirius XM?
interdimensional.
Okay. Dimensional.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are you ready?
Let's bring on Mike Ricksecker.
How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, doing pretty well, guys. How you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Having fun.
Yes, always having fun.
Yeah, always got to have fun, of course.
So, what we read your book and everything, but a lot of the guys and gals out here may not have. What kind of got you into writing this book?
Yeah, well, Walking the Shadows, it's my 11th book overall. I've been involved some way, shape, or form with the paranormal for about 30 years. But, specifically when it comes to shadow entities, my first experience with this type of phenomena was back when I was about 8 years old. And I'll go ahead and tell the story. So basically, I was lying in bed. I had been asleep, woke up, and I saw this tall, dark figure in the corner of my room. Of course, I didn't know anything about shadow figures, shadow beings, shadow entities, nothing of the sort at that time. I was 8. All I thought was that there was an intruder in my room and it was about to kill me, because that's about what you think at that age. Of course, I'm still alive to tell the tale, which is a good thing. And so what it ended up doing was really bizarre, though. I'm trying to scream. Nothing's coming out of my mouth because I'm just too frightened. And it approached my bed, leaned over. I'm staring up into this face it's just blank. There's no eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. And it actually grabbed me by the wrists, crossed my arms across my body, and then it ran off down the hall and into a closet. By that point, I found my voice, found my legs, ran off screaming to my parents' bedroom. And, they were good parents, so they're, trying to console me and everything, calm me down and trying to tell me that I had just had a bad dream. But, I knew I hadn't had a bad dream. I'd been awake for this whole thing. So, that was really the first major event that set me down this path. But I've had a lot of other things happen over the years to get me into writing this book.
Yeah. It's funny, while Jason was doing a little bit of research, he actually came across something that I found pretty fascinating. Because I know that I've heard you talk a little bit before and stuff, and I think there's a Cherokee legend about what is it? It's not a crow, is it? It's a
raven.
A raven. Yeah. You want to tell him about that? Because I'm thinking, this has some pretty neat correlation with you your arms crossing over and all that stuff.
Yeah, the Cherokee legend says that I think it was called the Raven Walker or something like that. It was a bird that transformed into a shadowy creature that captured the souls of those who were close to death. And that's from the Cherokee.
Their version of the Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
right?
It sounds about like what happened to you. Or
well, he's still with us, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm still here.
But he said he thought that it might have thought he was about to pass on or something.
And that, because I know you said that, you thought maybe it thought you had passed, and then when it noticed you didn't, that's when it ran off. Possibly. Yeah,
it ran off. Like I said, I was trying to scream. I mean, maybe it realized, once it got over there and was doing this, that it realized I was alive. But a lot of people suggested this the first one, about the raven. But there are a lot of the different Native American tribes have legends and beliefs concerning shadows or the spirit and there being multiple parts of the soul and things like that. But what a couple of people have related this to that I've talked to over the years are like some of the ancient Egyptian iconography with like on the sarcophagi where they're basically holding the crook and flail with crossed arms. And so the idea being that perhaps this thing thought that I was dead and was actually trying to put me into some sort of burial pose. And once it realized that I was actually alive, kind of I scared it and ran off.
So don't cross my arms when I'm asleep, right?
No, that, I grew up, have seeing things myself. When I was 3, it started for me. And, now what mine, I don't think were shadow people. I don't quite remember what they looked like. I just know that I would wake up. I'd wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning, or they would wake me up. How's that? They would wake me up about 3 o'clock in the morning every morning, and chase me around the house. They would literally chase me. And by the time I was 5, a little bit older, just a little bit past the time I was 5, one morning I finally just turned around and was like, you don't really scare me anymore. And I just went to bed. Now, it didn't stop the haunting in the house itself, but they didn't wake me up and chase me around the house anymore. So, but yeah, so my whole life has been, wondering about this kind of thing and trying to pursue that,
Yeah, certainly. We want answers to this different, type of phenomena. And I've kind of resigned myself to that. I'm never going to know for sure what exactly happened in that room that night. But, there's probably a lot of different theories and ideas that I'll come across along the way that perhaps for others, I might be able to answer questions for them. As because it's going to be a lot fresher. Like let's say something happens to somebody over this weekend and they contact me on Monday, it's going to be a lot fresher experience for them. So I might be able to have some ideas for them as far as what happened.
Yeah, I know. You were talking about in the book about some some stuff that you had. Got filmed. I know you have the, what is that? The gymnasium where you filmed, that one. Now, is that up on your website?
It is on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel. So if you go there and you look up those investigations concerning the Campsville Grade School, you'll see that footage. And if you just want to jump right to those clips, there's a video on there. I think it's just called, the Haunted Campsville, or it might be like Haunted Grade School footage or something like that. I mean, you can go through, all those videos, but there's ones that just have the clips themselves.
Yeah, I've heard them described a few times, and so you didn't actually see it at the time, but you saw it later.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting because I'm panning with the camera across the gymnasium back and forth, and you have that backlight from the viewfinder that's kind of like up in your face, so you can see some stuff. But at the time, I didn't see the shadow with my eyes. It was in review that we saw, and it's like, oh wow, look at that! And when you watch it, you can actually see it kind of walking a little bit.
Now I know you. I've heard you describe it as being, kind of small, like a 10 or 12-year-old kid or something like that. Mm-hmm. Was there any instances where like a kid or anything had died at that grade school or anything?
Yeah, we couldn't find any records of a child death there or anything like that. Person that I was with at the time had gone to school there, and there weren't any rumors or legends or anything like that concerning a child death either. Because you know how that goes when you're at school. If there's some sort of story, then the little ghost stories will kind of filter around the kids. So there wasn't anything like that. But just because a place is haunted with a spirit doesn't necessarily mean that the spirit died there. It could have been a meaningful place. Right. To the person. So with a school, you're talking about maybe a 10 or 11-year-old child. I mean, it could have been one of those cases where they had a lot of fond memories of their friends there. Maybe their home life wasn't so good, and they had fond memories of playing with their friends in the gym during gym class or whatever it was, and decided to hang out at the school. Maybe they did die as a child, but elsewhere. And decided to come and visit the school afterward.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense because you have the same thing in houses, because not necessarily do people die in houses or anything, but you have a lot of haunted houses, so it could be a place that they loved or, like you said, was just had fond memories there. I know you have some really cool ideas as far as what these shadow people could be. Just talking about, the possibly being interdimensional, maybe even a ET. and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. They could certainly be extraterrestrials, whether it's a physical ET or an ET that is traveling interdimensionally. So when it comes to interdimensional beings, I mean that opens up a whole can of worms. But yeah, there's certainly if it's like a physical ET, something that I've thrown out there is that okay, let's say that there's a craft orbiting our planet, and they've sent beings down here to try to observe and watch and study us. They could be wearing some sort of cloaking device and not quite knowing the complete physiology of how our eyes work. Maybe the cloaking device doesn't fully work with us, and they come off as some sort of shadow, or people talk like a shimmer person that they'll see from time to time. But yeah, interdimensional travel and interdimensional beings, I mean, these could be a lot of different things. So, if you have an ET on another world, another planet, we talk about, all the time, trying to create a wormhole to travel to other parts of the universe. What if they've accomplished that? What if they've done that? And it's been through interdimensional travel, and this is how they're appearing in our dimension. Or it could just be that we're seeing another dimension that is overlapping with ours. In the book, A Walk in the Shadows, I talk about a specific incident at a restaurant in Johnny V's a restaurant in Muskogee, Oklahoma called Johnny V's, in which, I'm walking through the main door to this kitchen, and all of a sudden this shadow just darts across the room like I scared it. And you hear it slam into this the side door of the kitchen, which is just this flimsy little metal door that waiters and waitresses use to carry large trays of food through. You can just tap the thing and it moves. But when it slammed into that door, the door didn't move at all, even though you heard it. And I was like, okay, what the heck's going on there? And I call out to the others who were in different parts of the building. Hey, did you guys hear that? And they're like, yeah, we heard that. So I described to them what happened. And for a moment there, I thought that, okay, these guys are messing with me. They had to like throw something at the door or whatever to make the sound, And so I actually walked through and I asked them, did you guys throw something at the door? No. And I walked through the door. I'm looking around on the ground. No, there's nothing on the ground. They didn't throw anything here. And even if they had thrown something at the door would have moved. It was a real flimsy door. So it's like, okay, what did I actually see? What did I observe here? And, I think what happened was, as I walked through that kitchen door, the main one, that for whatever reason, there was an overlap there of, two different dimensions. And, perhaps that shadow on its plane of existence, and maybe it saw me as a shadow, maybe it saw me as a ghost. I don't know. But, I scared it. And so on its plane of existence, perhaps it blew right through that door, and that door opened wide and it ran out into the restaurant area. But I didn't see it because I'm on a different physical plane of existence, a different physical dimension. But the sound works on a different wavelength. It works on a different frequency. So the sound of it was able to traverse through the dimensional space, but visually it was physically in different dimensions at the time.
That almost reminds me of that movie, The Others.
Oh,
if
that
you
was
remember
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Yes.
Everybody says that whenever I tell that story, and it very well could be.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Harley Swift Deer Reagan and any of his stories? He was go ahead.
This is the one that was on Art Bell, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, like around 2001. What's interesting about that is a lot of people point to that initial conversation on the Art Bell show that that kicked off all of this talk about shadow people. And it's like, well, no, this is actually a phenomenon that's been reported for a long, long time. I mean, that kind of made it, kind of brought us to the forefront. It made it a hot topic, in the early 2000s. And, as, kind of the internet was becoming bigger and, social media was just starting. So, I can see why people think that, but, shadow people have been around since really the beginning of time, and it's been talked about, reported about. I mean, there have been, there have been different Irish poets that have created, stories about shadow people. During the spiritualism movement in the 1800s, they were, talking about shadow people. And even when it comes to Native Americans, they've had their own legends for a long, long time. You mentioned the Cherokee earlier, but like the Choctaw had legends about, different parts of the soul, almost kind of like the ancient Egyptians, but where the Egyptians had 7 different parts of the soul. The Choctaw believed in 2 different parts of the soul. They were both shadows. There was an inside shadow and outside shadow. One went off to the land of ghosts, while the other, stayed here on Earth to roam. And so there's your shadow person. So this is stuff that we've been talking about for a long, long time.
Oh yeah, I know Art Bell talked a lot about the quickening, and that's what this guy, Swift Deer, talked about. He said time seemed to be speeding up during the quickening, and it would raise the frequency of ourselves, and that's how we would mesh in with these and be able to see them. I'm an interdimensional guy,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Jason's thing. He loves interdimensional.
Well, it's certainly an interesting concept, and it really does all come down to frequency and vibration. Like, that moment that I talk about there in Muskogee at Johnny V's. Basically, in a lot of these different interactions, this is what it comes down to. That for we don't know what the catalyst is. We don't know why it's happening, but in that moment, you have 2 different dimensions or 2 different planes of existence or 2 different periods of time that are for a brief moment resonating at the same frequency. And so they're able to see each other. And, we can even take it a step further. So I have a story in the book, A Walk in the Shadows, about the apparition of a little girl that morphed out of rolling black smoke. Now, there were 5 of us that saw her, but we all saw her a little differently, where, I completely saw her from the top of her head down to about her knees, and then she faded away. There were others that saw her completely from like her feet all the way up to her head, and then, her head started fading away. And others were seeing the torso. Well, okay, what's going on there? Well, we each have our own personal resonance, our own personal vibration, and so do these different entities. So, we're all able to see her to some degree, but because we're all resonating at a little bit of a different frequency, and you're talking about something that's, coming from, some other plane of existence somehow, that it's already, having issues with vibration, and that's why we only see them on occasion. So that's why we're only able to. That's why we're seeing her in a little bit of a different way, because my frequency is different than Tom's, is different than Nick's, and so on with the group of us. As the little girl has her own personal vibration, so you're dealing with all these factors here.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Jason says I concur.
Well, I mean, you say it came to you as a little girl and stuff, and that sort of goes into a past show we had with another guest, and there was like a little girl that would come, and I guess it was, if you see a little girl, you might not get so freaked out, but there might be a big baddie somewhere in the background manipulating it or something. Have you ever had multiple things going on at the same time, like where they might have started off sort of slow and then they escalated and might decide to, maybe you need to evaluate what's going on a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of people go down that route, that, it's showing up as a little girl, but it's really a demon or whatever. And it's, without other information to back that up, it's really hard to go down that route. And I understand that, because I've seen some of the shows in which, something was appearing as a little girl, and there was, something else back behind that. It wasn't really a little girl. It was something else. But this is, and I've been on, cases that, were more nefarious in nature and actually, had a demon there. It was quite different than what's going on with this particular little girl. A lot of people have been reporting her there for many, many years. And this was a place that I've investigated, many times. There was a lot there's a lot that goes on in that upstairs area at Mineral Springs Hotel. But that one particular room that's right there, people have been reporting whether seeing her or just interacting with the little girl. A lot of psychic mediums would pick up on her that it's just this sad little girl that's waiting for somebody to come pick her up. And so the room is basically littered with stuffed animals and all kinds of stuff like that. What's interesting about that is I'd never really gotten a whole lot in that room before, like maybe a couple of small EVPs or whatever, but not a whole lot. And I'd investigated up there several times. And so what was interesting was, the phenomenon started as black smoke at the end of the hall. And as it was coming forward, it was kind of creeping up the wall on the right-hand side, and it would creep back down, and it would creep back up and creep back down as it's coming forward closer and closer. And then finally, one time, as it creeped up that wall on the right side, it morphed into that apparition of a little girl. And, we're all seeing her, hey, come closer. You're trying to coax her, closer to us. Like, oh, you can come here. We're friendly. We just want to talk to you, that sort of thing. And she stopped right at that door to that room, and she would not come any closer. So it was confirmation to us that this was the little girl that is frequently seen in that room. And she's totally harmless. She's just a sad little girl that's waiting. In the Shadow Dimension docuseries that's coming out here very soon, Coyote Chris Sutton's talking about it. He's like, yeah, it's really sad. It's like she's waiting for her dad to come pick her up, and he's never coming. So,
wow.
We got a question in the chat room from Shell for you. She said,
okay.
I heard you can up your vibration with crystals. Could you possibly see them better then? What do you think?
Well, using crystals, it will help change your vibration. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see them any better. It's just going to mean that at that vibration, you're going to see whatever is on that frequency. Now, if that entity is on that frequency, then yes, you'll be able to see it much better. But we don't know exactly what frequency they're on. They seem to shift. They seem to move in and out of different. You see these different phase shifts and things like that. So they seem to be changing their frequency from time to time. Or like I said, with each of us that are there, you each have your own personal resonance. So, you can try crystals to see if that'll put you on a similar frequency to be able to see some of these things better. And you may not necessarily see, like with this one particular little girl, it may not help you necessarily see her better, but there might be something else around there, because there are several spirits that are up there in that upper floor. It may help you see one of those others better. So, it would just be a lot of playing around and using different combinations of crystals to see what might work a little better.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We're we've been invited to go to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital.
Oh,
we do a big it's just right an hour and a half down the road from where the bunker here is, and
do our Halloween special there.
Yeah, we do a Halloween special every year. So we do and so we're going to do our Nightmare in the Bunker instead of Nightmare in the Bunker. We're gonna do it there. So it's gonna be pretty fun.
Well, I'll tell you this: they're not kidding around when they talk about that third floor up there. That third floor has a lot going on.
So, have you ever gone there and investigated?
Yeah, I've been there once before. That's what I'm saying. That third floor, they're not kidding around about that. I had a lot going on up there. Yeah,
we had the owner on. What was it, about 2 months ago?
Yeah, 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, and he was saying that no matter what time you come, day, night, they'll talk to you. That it's so interactive there. It's crazy. He says.
Yeah, we've got a pretty good connection with them. That was Ronnie D, and then we had Renee Dykes, and then we're going to have JB Coates coming up, and they're all involved in Old South Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Well, did you see any shadow figures there?
That one wasn't so much shadows as the big thing was right off the bat. I'd gotten there early. I was helping out with a public investigation, but got there early and started looking around. And what's funny is when I first went up to that third floor, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And I was on camera because I was filming a little bit and just kind of talking about how, I've heard a lot about the third floor. There's not much going on right now. Maybe, later on in the night, things will change. And then all of a sudden, there was this toy that was down another hallway that just kicked on its own and started, it was one of those electronic toys, and it's going all kinds of crazy down there. It's like, okay, let's go check that out. But yeah, they talk about the little boy that's up there, and we were interacting with him for quite a while. Didn't see him, but we were getting a lot of responses and a lot of interaction, and some of the different EVPs that we got up there were interesting. A lot of meter activations on command. So
Wow.
it was very interesting up there.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have fun. We're gonna try to go a little early and see if we can do some investigation before the show, because I think that'd just be awesome.
Yeah, they said daytime, nighttime. You can get anything, anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
As long as they don't mess with the roadcaster when we're doing the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Now that would be something crazy while we're doing a live show, and then all of a sudden the soundboard starts going crazy. I don't know. That might be kind of weird. We'll see, I guess. What would be neat is I think maybe we'll take all 4 mics with us, and then that way we'll turn one mic on and set it over to the side and see if we catch anything.
Possibly
interview
a ghost. Even.
Yeah. See if we, in playback, someone hears someone say something. That'd be cool. I don't know.
You never know.
Never know, right? These mics. These mics will pick up a dime on the other side of this house. So dropping. So
yeah, we have to be very careful.
Yeah. You can't eat the microphone here because all you get's reverb back.
Yeah, they got what's this thing called? A sock or something you got, or what is this thing?
We've got socks on these, and then that one we've got the pop filter on
pop
it.
filter. Yeah. So they really don't want me to eat this one, so it's big as my head almost.
That's crazy.
All right, so I guess we're going to head to break real quick.
Yes, we're going to go to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more with Mike Ricksecker, and we're talking to him about his book, A Walk in the Shadows. And remember, we are simulcasting live right now on Spreaker and on Podbean, both, for the full 2-hour show. And at the end of this next segment, after we go to another break, we will open up the phone lines for people to call in, if you want to call in. So we'll be back right after these messages.
You're listening to Project Corona.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Sieber. I'm stuck in a bunker with David and Jason on Project Dark Corona.
Welcome to Willow Branch Botanicals. Natural, healthy alternative products. Here we use only the best plants to grow and produce CBD-derived products and other wonderful essential oils. Plants are grown and monitored carefully to produce the best raw materials for quality product. Harvesting and processing are managed with strict good manufacturing practices and food safety requirements as our top priority. With the use of our up-to-date lab and modern food quality processing equipment, we are able to produce wholesome hemp and CBD products and other essential oils. Once packaged and sealed, the end product is stored securely until ready to be shipped. We take pride in every step of the process, even to the shipping out to you as a customer. For more information, visit us on www.willowbranchbotanicals.com or Facebook Willow Branch Botanicals.
Thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona. You can find us on Facebook at Project Dark Corona Podcast. All of our shows are posted in the events section. You can also find us on Twitter at Project Dark Coro. We have a webpage at projectdarkcorona.org. You can sign up and become a member. You can post blogs and listen to past shows. So remember and listen to Project Dark Corona Podcast.
Welcome and thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona on Podbean. If you like our show and would like to support it, you can by becoming a patron. Just click on the box that says Become a Patron and sign up. We have different options that you can choose from to support us. Some of the perks becoming a patron include bonus content, free gifts, and the feeling of being part of the show. So thanks, and continue listening to Project Dark Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona with David Reagan and Jason Scott.
Yeah, I call streams in parallel, don't mentions. I swam through a river of bad vibes. Oh, this will save your ass, and I'm a reason that you're alive. So don't sell me down a crazy river. Every time a spectral paper apparition or organic guy come knocking at your door. I go by dodgy days of you pleasing, I'm a man or more prestige, and not a man of that real respect. I swam through a river of bad vibes. Oh, just to save your ass, and I'm a reason that you're alive. So don't sail me down a crazy river. Every time a spectral paper apparition or organic guy come knocking at your door. And if you talk to Zulu, tell them there's gonna be a no-show. We're gonna get letters from the hit taps on our home. Yeah, I'm coming by the end of the world. That's a fact. Found and bang unforgettable with the thousand cats still living together. And then the killer gonna rise up. Who you gonna talk to then?
All right, we're back from that little short break. You were listening to Mississippi Bones right there, and that song's called The Venkman from Ghostbusters. Yeah,
Peter Venkman.
So,
Yeah.
pretty good song there. So we're bringing Mike Ricksecker back on. How you doing, Mike?
Doing pretty well, thanks.
So we're talking about your book, Walk in the Shadows, and while we was on that break, we was talking about the Walker, or the was it the Walkers, or the shadow that had
Crawlers?
the Crawlers. That's what we was talking about. The Crawler. That was a crazy story that you had.
Yeah. The crawlers are definitely those are very creepy. So yeah, I've only had one interaction with a crawler, but basically these are the types of shadow entities that they do what their namesake is. They get down on all fours, they crawl. It could be across the floor, along the walls, along the ceilings. People will report seeing crawlers. Crawling up and down the stairs. My interaction was at an abandoned church, basically out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. And we'd investigated there a number of different times. We'd heard stories and legends about the crawler. It was kind of a local urban legend about this thing that, after the church had become abandoned, that somebody had conjured something up there, and the crawler came forth and it had its minions and all this stuff, right? So we're down in this basement of this old abandoned church, and we see this shadow slipping through through one of the windows that are, with all the windows that were kind of busted out. She had slipped in through one of the windows, and this thing starts circling us like along the walls, along the ceiling. It's just like a very fast flurry of arms and legs. And at some point, it hit the floor because there was this plastic bottle that was on the floor that got kicked across the floor, hit the metal railing at some point. So all this stuff is just going on. It's circling and circling. And the medium that was with us at the time suggested that maybe we should say some prayers, start singing some hymns, kind of just like lighten the energy to see if we could drive this thing from us. And we did that, and it slipped back out one of the windows. But that one was definitely really creepy.
So, I don't know if I would have saw that exactly what I might have done, but what kind of a vibe did you get off that besides, just it being creepy? Did you get like something just, I'm not going to say demonic because I think that myself, I think a lot of that stuff is interdimensional type things. Or
like you said, so many people go straight to that.
Right. So many people go straight to that thing, especially, we live in the South. So,
if you can't explain it, it's the devil.
That's it. The devil had something to do with it down here. So,
right.
But did you get some kind of a feeling about this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely dark, and there was a heavy feeling in the air. But I totally agree with you guys. Too many people go straight to, everything's demonic. I've had people email me before and say, well, I have a demon in my house. And it's like, okay, why do you think you have a demon? Well, a candle flew off the mantle. Okay, that doesn't mean it's a demon. I've been doing this. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had like one demon case. And what was interesting about that is, I'm good friends with Carl Johnson, who's a pretty renowned demonologist who's been doing this for 50 years, and that's like specifically what people call him out to go do when he's out on these different cases. And so, I was talking with him here just a couple months ago, and asked him, okay, so what actually was your last demon case that you were on? He's like, Mike, my last demon case was the case that I was with you on 10 years ago. So here's a guy that's like his primary focus. It's been 10 years since he's actually had a demon case.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're few and far between. And too many. I agree with you. Too many people go right to demon. As far as that crawler, it's hard to know exactly what it was. I mean, yeah, you have the legends of people conjuring something there, and and we don't know for sure if that happened. I mean, we did find in the one back room of that church, there's this brick pedestal with a cement slab on it. And, we did find, some evidence there of, scorch marks, like somebody was burning something there. There was a burnt animal bone there one time. So it's like, I mean, you could say there was sacrificed something on it. But it could have been
after the church had already disbanded.
Yes, it was after the church had already disbanded. Yeah, but anybody could have been back there just setting fire to their Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. We have no idea.
Yeah, you got to warm it up. Yeah,
right.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. I mean, and the church, the roof of the church was burned down at one point because kids were screwing around in there and burnt it down. So. You have no idea who or what did anything back there. Did some occult practices happen back there to conjure something up? Maybe, but we weren't there, so we just don't know. And yeah, I do have to clarify it was after the church because we did that story. It was called Church of Darkness for my ghost story, and the actual owner of the property got upset with us because I had a YouTube video out there. Because we've been out there investigating, like I said, several times, and I related that story of the legends of the occult practices happening in there after the church become abandoned. But they took it, me saying that it happened while it was still, inhabited by the parishioners, and actually practicing the occult. No, I didn't say that. So they wanted nothing to do with this at that point.
Right. Sometimes they hear what they want to hear.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, another story that I thought was pretty fascinating was whenever you visited your friend and you went and the woods was in the back of the house and how everything got so dark. That was, I guess since you'd been doing stuff for so long, you were able to handle it a lot better than some people might have.
Yeah, that was a really interesting moment because I did get creeped out with that one. And people will ask me, what was your scariest moment or whatever? And, what scared you out of a location? And I don't really get scared at these locations or when I go investigating because I'm there investigating. I'm trying to figure out what all this stuff is. And that was a moment which I wasn't there for anything paranormal. I was there to talk her down off a ledge. So it was for something completely personal, but something paranormal started happening while we were there. And we were in her SUV. I'd driven down there. She parked her SUV behind her old childhood home, which had become abandoned. And yeah, there are these old creepy woods back behind the house. And so I parked in the driveway, got out, walked to her car and got in. We're sitting there talking for a while. And as we're talking, I start noticing out of the side mirror that there are these shadows that are starting to gather in the woods around the tree trunks. And as we continue talking, there's more and more of them that are gathering back there. And she notices that I saw something. She's like, "You saw something, didn't you?" Because she was involved a bit with the paranormal. I was like, "Oh yeah, I saw something. There's shadow play back there." And suddenly one of the shadow entities crept up behind her car. And at that point, I was like, we ought to go. At this point, we really ought to go. So she agreed that we would, we'd leave and meet up elsewhere. So I got out of the SUV to head back to my car. I'm kind of looking around. The shadows are still there around the trees. I did not see the one that had crept up to the car. And as I'm heading back to my car, again, I'm still seeing all the shadows there around the tree trunks. I look up into the treetops, and there was this weird, crazy, I call it like a living spider web, because it was this white, silky thing that was just kind of slinking through the treetops. And I was like, okay, that's really freaking weird. And so I got my car and we met up elsewhere. Yeah, that was really bizarre.
Michelle asked sort of a question, I guess, that sort of pertains to that. Perhaps there's like emotional vampires or emotional shadow entities that might feed on people when they're, perhaps if they're distressed, depressed, or something like that. Do you think that has anything to do with it, or?
Yeah, there's that idea of some of these shadow entities will come in and strike fear into a person and feed off of that fear, and we call those emotional vampires. So some of these, and this is what I say when it comes to shadow people, because there are people out there that will sit there and say, all shadow people are evil. They're the darkest of the dark, most evil of all evil things. It's like, no. Take a step back here. Just like with people, some people are good, some people are bad. Some shadow people are good, some shadow people are bad. They all each have their own agendas. And most of them are just kind of standing around watching and observing. They're not up to anything except studying us. Some of them are
sort of like the Star Trek mode, the observe.
Just observe.
Not to interfere.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, just like that. And I mean, it's kind of like what we would do if we would go to another planet. We're going to spend a lot of time just watching, observing, and taking readings and all that stuff. There are some shadow entities that are actually benevolent, and they actually do nice things for people. And then there are some, yes, that are evil, nasty, and nefarious. And so, the emotional vampire type of shadow entities, there are some that do exist. You hear stories about these things, and that can happen.
So try to be in a good mood if you can, I guess.
Well, that was something. I've always liked this subject, And the thing is, though, is that when you do most of your research and you try to find out as much as you can about it, almost everything you hear is negative. Mm-hmm. It's all, especially when it comes to the Hat Man, right? Whatever form the Hat Man takes, whether it's a top hat or fedora or whatever it is, this one for some reason has a special place in I guess the lore where he's just supposed to be the most nefarious of them all. And I just don't know if that's, like you said, if that's real or if it isn't, I think it's real, the entity, but I don't know about the,
Well,
yeah, it's hard to know with any certainty. I mean, they do exist. There are ones that seem to be up to no good. They are, the Hat Man is one that a lot of people will say is an energy vampire, feed off of people's energy. But I hear a lot of stories of ones that just go back to the watching and observing. I have a story in the book about a particular hat person that would, on a regular basis, frequent this bedroom with. They had 3 sisters in it, and it would always come and stand at the foot of the bed of the one, and the other 2 were sitting there, watching this happen, night after night after night. It wouldn't do anything. It would just stand there at the foot of the bed and watch this one girl. They ended up moving from that house, and the shadow did not follow her. So, it apparently had some sort of attachment to the house, but it didn't do anything. It just watched and observed. And, another one that's in there with the hat was, it was the one with the top hat and the cape, and he was just kind of, moving about through the house that used to be a mortuary. So, the woman, Tanya, just wondered if this was the old mortician from the mortuary. It didn't do anything, nasty or nefarious. And then there's the story of Albert K. Bender, where he had, the 3 men with the hat show up in his house. They were shadowy in nature. They materialized into his room. They had glowing eyes, and they were, this was back in the 1950s, and they basically made him stop his UFO research at the time. He chalked it up to extraterrestrials. But it's like when I heard the story, it's like, wait a second. He's saying these are extraterrestrials. There are others in the UFO community that were saying these are men in black. And I'm listening to the story and I'm like, these are hat wearing shadow entities. Yeah. So it's like, you're all like one and the same thing here,
They do all sort of tie together.
They do.
Yeah. It's like, depends on who you are, your perspective and everything, but everything does seem to come together like that. Yeah.
When Sherry,
because you hear a lot of these. You hear a lot of these. Yeah, you hear a lot of these extraterrestrial visitation stories, and a lot of them are very, very similar to people witnessing shadow entities.
When Sherry Perry came on and did a show with us, it was on Mothman, and during the time of the Mothman, they would also have these men in black figures, but they said that they did not act, that would show up at people's houses and stuff after they had a sighting, but they said that they weren't human as far as they could tell, because they had almost robotic type way of talking. They didn't quite know how certain things worked and stuff like that, but now they would talk. But they thought that maybe they were, alien.
Yeah. Yeah. The men in black seem to, this is another one that you can't always chalk it up to one specific thing. Everybody wants to kind of compartmentalize everything, like, shadow people are this, men in black are that, ghosts are this. And it's like, they all kind of, there's a lot of gray area here, and there are multiple different kinds of all of these things. When it comes to the men in black, there are some that seem to be extraterrestrials. There are some that seem to be shadow entities. There are some that are just normal human beings from a shadowy government agency. So it really kind of just depends on the specific incident. Just because somebody's wearing a suit and a hat, it doesn't mean that they are even necessarily a Men in Black. It just could be a guy in a suit and a hat.
Right.
Matt in the chat room said that predators watch and observe. So maybe they're just waiting for their chance, is what Matt's saying.
Well, sure, predators, watch and observe, but so do scientists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
little kids. Little kids.
Yeah, little kids are watch and observe and get and they're curious. I mean, that's kind of our nature. We're curious. We're curious beings, and so in order for us to learn about the world, we have to watch, observe, study, all of that. So, I mean, you could turn anything in any direction. Just kind of like the whole the candle flew off my mantle, so therefore it must be a demon because demons throw candles off mantles. Well, yeah, but there could have been a tremor that made the candle fall off the mantle, or it could have just. I mean, maybe it was a spirit, and maybe they were just trying to move the candle. Maybe they didn't like it there or whatever, or trying to move it. And that's another thing. We don't exactly know how these spirits can use their energy. Some of them may not know exactly how to use it very well. Almost kind of like the movie Ghost, when he was trying to learn how to use his abilities. He didn't know how to use it very well at first. And so, at first he couldn't use it, and then he'd use it too hard. And then, so it took some, fine tuning there. So it could just be like when people get scratched or whatever, or, they get pushed by something. It could just be, a spirit's coming up and they're trying to tap them on the shoulder. They don't realize their own strength or whatever. And all of a sudden, boom, the person gets hurt. And it just might be a total accident.
I've actually been scratched twice. Yeah. By an entity. I don't think it was nefarious though. I didn't never feel like that. It was actually at a house that I owned prior to buying the house that we live in right now. And Jason and I caught some really good EVPs there. The old saying is you're not supposed to ghost hunt your own house, but hey, guess what? I did. And we got some really good EVPs. I actually saw the little girl with my own eyes. I mean, just as good as I'm seeing, the guys sitting around me right now. I mean, she looked real. I couldn't see through her or nothing. She fully manifested herself. And it was really funny because it was the night of Easter. So it was Easter night. It was about 10 o'clock at night. And I was sitting on the couch, and she just stepped out of the middle bedroom into the hallway. And she had a big green Easter dress on. And I mean, I say Easter dress because it was Easter, but I mean, it was just this big, really pretty Easter or big old dress. And then I kind of turned my head, and I looked back like, what was going on? And, she wasn't there anymore. And so it just gave me confirmation, that something was there.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting story.
Yeah. We have another where we actually started hunting the house. We got her voice actually answering a question, but we also have a male's voice that I never saw him, but we have a male's voice that directly answered a question of ours there too. So it was pretty interesting. I never did any background on the house. As of 2025, I think the house will turn 100 years old. So, so it was a pretty old house.
Yeah. But sometimes you have to investigate your own house because there'll be things going on. You need to figure out what it is. I had a house in the 3 years that I lived in Oklahoma, and there was stuff going on there. The kids thought that I'd brought something home with me, that I'd had an attachment from one of my investigations, and I was never convinced of that. I thought it was, I actually thought it was my grandfather, because he had just recently passed away, and a lot of people in the family were reporting seen him, and I had moments where I knew that he was around, and so I was just, it's Grandpa. But there was this one time, it was really kind of interesting. So we had this ceiling fan that was in the living room, and a lot of times, just randomly, the thing would turn on or would just turn off. And that's where the kids would say, "Hey, so, you brought something home, and it turned on its own again." And so, it had like a remote control to it. So I'm like, maybe there's something shorted out in the remote control. So I'm kind of playing with it and stuff. And, I'm like, okay, it's not the remote. And maybe it's just Grandpa. I really didn't pay it a whole lot of mind at the time. But finally, there was this one day in which he just gotten called and we were going to go out to the movies. My son and I, my youngest son Cameron and I, were the only ones that were home. And gotten the call. And like, yeah, sure, we'll go to the movies with you. So we're getting stuff together, and all of a sudden, that light turns on the ceiling fan, and I was like, all right, fine. There's something here. I got my audio recorder, and I'm like, if there's somebody that's here, and you keep turning on that light, you need to do a little bit better than that to convince me that, somebody's here. All of a sudden the light starts blinking. It's on and off, on and off, on and off. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention now. And so I did a little, in the 5 minutes that we had, I did a little EVP session there. And I did get a message that said, don't stay here anymore. It's like, oh, okay. A couple months later, I was no longer living there. So,
Wow.
You done like me in David's house. Got out.
It was, that part was hilarious.
I didn't come back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't because of that I left. It was for other reasons, but yeah.
Well, I'm scared of the dark, so.
It was funny. Jason came over. He had never done any kind of, investigations or nothing. I was like, we need to investigate my house. I said, I've got an entity. I think it's a little kid. And the reason I thought it was a little kid is because I had a surround sound system. I'd wake up before everybody else in the house, and I'd turn on the TV and watch some TV early in the morning, and my surround sound would just go from like 2 to maxed out. And you can't do that with the remote, Only way to do it is to turn the little knob on the front of the surround sound system. And so I would literally, and this would happen almost all the time, I would sit there and play with it for like 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, literally, I'd turn it down and it would turn it right back up. Or I would try to start turning it down and it would turn it back up. And then I'd finally go, okay, we're going to wake everybody up. We got to stop playing this game. It was done. It wouldn't do it anymore. And so I was like, I really think this is a kid. And that was before I got to see the little girl. And or we caught the EVP, but I got Jason over there we did a little investigation, and when we did the playback and we had her voice say yes to a question that we asked, Jason was like, I got to go home, Dave, and he was gone. Yeah, he didn't want nothing else to do with that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So I know you've talked about shadow entities being interdimensional. What about, I know in your book you talk about the Matrix. Maybe they're simulated. Maybe it's a glitch.
Yeah, I do have the chapter in the book, Shadows in the Matrix. So this gets into the idea of a simulated universe. If we are living in a simulation, I don't necessarily mean a computer simulation. I know that's what a lot of people relate it to. There's been a lot of theories postulated out there.
It's a big topic.
Scientific studies. Yeah, it's a big topic, and it to me it's kind of funny how we always put these ideas into the context of technology that we know about today. So that's why it's always a computer simulation, like a video game. And yeah, maybe on some degree, but I don't think it's. I think it's something more like organic or biological, something on the molecular level. And you look at our ancient religions, and they pretty much already talk about this. They don't call it a simulation, but they talk about, like, religions that believe in reincarnation. We're up in whatever home world that is. We come down here, we learn something, we pass away, we go up there again, and then recycle. We keep coming back here to learn different things. Or other religions that say that we're down here preparing to move on to the new world. So it's always in that they don't use the word simulation, but it's always that kind of story, that this world that we're in here is just temporary. So, given that, if we are in a simulation, then what are shadow entities within that simulation? What's their part in all this? And, some of them could possibly be beings from that, whatever that world outside the simulation is, that home world that, we go to when we pass away, whatever that is. They could be coming down here and interacting with it. I do use, as an example, the idea of a massively multiplayer online game where you have a game universe that you've logged into with your avatar, and there are not players, but basically, they're game masters from basically the company that's running the game, that will come in and interact with the game world, either as another avatar, or they may even be invisible to the actual players. But sometimes something happens or goes wrong, or there's a little glitch, and suddenly the players realize that, oh, there's actually one of the GMs are here with us, because I saw something weird happen over there, something moving, and then it wasn't there anymore. So you can even relate it to like the agents from the movie The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Something on that level. So if we are in a simulation, that could be what some of these shadow entities are.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, sort of like I like the way you said, the different religions and how they thought about it. So it could be your guides in one religion, it could be angel in another religion, or it's just but it's everybody all over the world. Everything's involved, and so they might have their words different, just way that they describe it and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yep, that makes sense to me. So. Mike, we're going to take us another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines. So we'll be right back. Okay?
Okay.
So we're talking with Mike Ricksecker. We're talking about his book, A Walk in the Shadows. And I will recommend that book. You got to read the book. The book is fascinating.
They get it off Amazon.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And
or Audible.
That's where I listened to it, was Audible. And we are simulcasting live right now to Spreaker and to Podbean, which is a first time ever, right? So we'll be back.
First time ever.
Right after
First
these messages.
time for everything.
That's right.
You're listening to Project Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona with David Reagan and Jason Scott. Thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona. You can find us on Facebook at Project Dark Corona Podcast. All of our shows are posted in the events section. You can also find us on Twitter at Project Dark Coro. We have a webpage at projectdarkcorona.org. You can sign up and become a member. You can post blogs and listen to past shows. So remember and listen to Project Dark Corona Podcast.
ever thought of using alternative health products, dried herbs, edibles? If so, check out Willow Branch Botanicals. They have a nice selection of nature's products straight from their farm to your family. Items such as essential oils, herbs, hand sanitizers, beeswax, also edibles, such as their Tennessee Wildflower Honey. So check out Willow Branch Botanicals at www.willowbranchbotanicals.com. You can also find them on Facebook at Willow Branch Botanicals. Remember, where nature's products are done right. Welcome and thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona on Podbean. If you like our show and would like to support it, you can by becoming a patron. Just click on the box that says Become a Patron and sign up. We have different options that you can choose from to support us. Some of the perks becoming a patron include bonus content, free gifts, and the feeling of being part of the show. So thanks, and continue listening to Project Dark Corona.
Hey, everybody. This is Matt Sieber from EastTennesseeBigfoot.org. You're listening to David and Jason at Project Dark Corona Radio.
Right, we're back
All
from
right.
that. The band you're listening to is Catalyst, and
That's the house band.
That's the house band. That's
Jeff
right.
Reagan.
They're awesome. They also allow us to use their music, and we're very grateful for them for allowing us to use their music.
Yeah,
And-
we love Jeff.
Yeah. So we have Catalyst, and we have Mississippi Bones. You could also go onto our website, projectdarkcorona.org, click on their banners there, and, go and check out their music. You could listen to it for free. So, hey, Mike, how you doing?
All right.
How you doing?
So we
you
just
doing, Mike?
come like right back in. Oh, that was you, Lee. I thought I was reading something in the chat room, and I was like, "Oh, someone's wanting to call in already." But that was Lee saying,
No, I just said
telling
call
people
in,
to call in. Yep.
with your questions for Mike Ricksecker about shadow people. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jason had a good question. Jason,
I did.
Yes, Jason, you did.
Yeah, it's not a well, maybe a question.
A statement that could lead to a question?
Yeah, I know you talk about
quandary.
the shadow entities, which I hope I'm saying this right because of I've listened to your podcast the other night.
Copyright reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That's silly.
It's
like trademarking.
the color red.
Yeah.
It is, and I have talked to legal counsel about that, and I mean, really, okay. So she did file a trademark on the term shadow people for a few different categories, like use in books, embedded videos on the web, radio shows was one. So like when I was on Coast to Coast in January, it was really crazy because, the producer, called me just before the show, and he's like, can you use or say or talk about, this type of phenomenon without using the word shadow people? I'm like, yeah, sure, I could say shadow entity, shadow beings, shadow figures. He's like, no. Can you do it without saying the word shadow? And I'm like, well,
this is the reason I'm on your show, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like shadow. The word shadow is not what was trademarked. It was the shadow people. It's ridiculous anyway, because it's a generalized term. It's a term that people have been using for hundreds of years, and we talked about it earlier. That Irish poems use the term shadow people. Back in the 1800s, during the spiritualism movement, they were using the term shadow people. There was a book from the 1960s called "The Shadow People." It's used in not a paranormal context as well. When you talk about kind of like people behind the scenes that help out and do different things are known as the shadow people. There was a woman in the early 1980s that some of you might remember the story where she was getting away with cashing Social Security checks from people that had died. She had a boarding house, and these people would go there, live the last few years of their life. They would die. She would not report it. She basically buried them in her backyard, and then she'd cash the Social Security checks.
I
And
remember
you remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They called those people shadow people. So there's a lot of different ways you can use the term. And so this person had trademarked it. The trademark went into effect last March, right after I published the first edition of Walking the Shadows, Complete Guide to Shadow People. So my book was okay, but it's been causing a lot of ripples in the paranormal community because, apparently she has tried to come after some people for using this term. And from my understanding, so far it really hasn't worked. The threats have worked a little bit, like, with me on Coast to Coast, because they had basically, her lawyers had been in touch with him and said, don't let people come on and talk about this stuff. It was basically a threat. They didn't want to deal with it, but basically anybody that's actually tried to go, to court with this, hasn't had any problem. It's kind of like, what is Corey Good with the Secret Space Program? He's tried to trademark that and get away with it. Anytime he's gone to court over it, he's lost. Because it's just a generalized term. Same thing with the shadow people. So it's going to be a headache here for a little while trying to deal with the fallout of that. But like I said, I've talked to legal counsel about it, and it's one of those where I could, if I really wanted to, I could spend the money and try to get the whole thing thrown out and all that. And, there's some different defensive measures we've talked about and things like that. But really, I have the upper hand on it if something should happen legally, because of the fact that it's a generalized term. It should never have gotten to this point anyway. It slipped through the system. Whoever was doing the checks at the USPTO probably didn't know a thing about shadow people or whatever, and just let it slide. And it's like, okay, Kind of like, the term, because the same thing has happened with the Hat Man as well. She trademarked that as well. The Hat Man has actually been trademarked before. And then the trademark was eventually abandoned, but in use for a business with hats, because that's been a term in the past that's been used before too, for people selling hats. You go through like an old newspaper archive, you look up the Hat Man, and you're going to see like all kinds of ads and articles and things on people selling hats.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason told me about that, and
Yeah.
I was a little livid today about that. I was like, I cannot believe.
Well,
that.
as I was listening to him, I was looking this up, and I was looking, on her website and stuff. And when I seen that she was probably the only person that has coined these terms,
Yeah,
it went all over me. I was like, "Purr."
and that's complete bunk. I mean, because both of those terms have been used forever. Okay, fine. She's been doing this research for 15, 20 years, whatever. She had some experiences growing up. That's fine, and she wrote a book in the early 2000s that was published. That's fine, but to make the claim that you coined the term is just irresponsible, because, again, these terms have been around forever. You can take the Hat Man. I mean, like we were just talking about, people use that term, people that sold hats use that term. They were the Hat Man. That was a term in that industry. Shadow people, I've an article that I actually put in the second edition of the book. You guys that listen to the audio version, you guys listen to the first edition. For the second edition, I added some material in, like, Madame d'Esperance, who was a well-known medium during the spiritualism movement. I found a fantastic article on her, which actually references the shadow people, talking about these entities that visited her multiple times throughout her life. When she was a child, she lives in a haunted house and had both shadow people and ghosts there. She was actually afraid of the ghosts, and she was friends with the shadow people, and the shadows she felt protected her from these ghosts. Well, when she got older in life, grew up, got married, moved into a different house, the spirits at that newer house were different, and she had shadows in this newer house as well, but she did not like them as much. So again, so we're seeing shadows on different levels, different types, some being good, some being not so good, but they were referred to as the shadow people. And like I said, there's even old short stories and old poems there from all kinds of different people. I mentioned the ones from Ireland, but they're called the shadow people. There's a 1960s novel, the shadow people. So no, the term was not coined by her. And my girlfriend Nicole and I were talking about this the other day, actually, and like Hans Holzer. And I love his work. I grew up in his work, reading his books. He was definitely a major influence early in my life. I'm friends with his daughter Alexandra, and a lot of people credited him with coining the term ghost hunter. That was the title of his very first book, The Ghost Hunter. He never said, "I coined that term." Other people said he coined the term, which was actually incorrect. Again, if you do research, you will find that, back in the 1800s, they were using the term ghost hunter. I found a interesting article some years ago on research that I was doing out in Illinois about a historic house in Carrollton. And there were a lot of different things that were going on within this home. Again, way back in, it was like the 1860s or whatever. And, this article talked about 3 ghost hunters coming to the house to investigate the strange phenomenon that was happening there. So this is like 100 years before Hans Holzer. But my point is that, the term was used long before I get that, during that time that he was coming out with these books, because nobody else had really put out books like Hans Holzer prior to him, not like that. And so that's why other people were saying he coined the term. It wasn't Hans saying it. And that's a problem I have here is she's the one saying I coined these terms, rather than other people trying to say it. So it's caused a real headache within the community.
Yeah, what's crazy is after Jason told me that, we was going to have her. She was actually going to come on the show close to the beginning of this year, if maybe the end of last year. But either or. But it was funny because Jason and I had done a show on the Shadow People a few months prior. And when I was talking to her, you know, she had mentioned, well, I see in your episodes that you have an episode on the Shadow People. And, you know, who was you talking to? And I said, no, I said that episode was just Jason and I doing an episode together talking about the Shadow People.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You know, now thinking about this, I was like, was she already thinking about trying to sue somebody? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but
well,
yeah, it's a big headache, unfortunately. And you know, I was on a show earlier today, and not all of this that we're talking about now came up, but just just kind of her in general, that they had interviewed her. I'm not trying to disparage her. You know, we all have our experiences. We all have our opinions.
yes.
And, you know, they had described to her a situation that was going on in the house there. She automatically chalked it up to, you know, oh, it's evil. You shouldn't try to interact with it, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's the whole idea that all of these, you know, shadow entities are evil. And I'm sorry, I can't get on board with that. I've had too many interactions with shadow entities that, you know, were just rather benign. Most of the stories, and I've collected tons and tons and tons over the years, you know, most of them are rather benign. They're neither good nor evil. They're just in the middle. There are some that are good, that are rather benevolent, that help out. And yeah, sure, there are some that are nasty and nefarious. Well, in any case, this guy was just like, well, and, you know, she told me that, I was like, eh. And then not long after that, I had a psychic medium on, and I asked her about the shadow that we were seeing there. She did a reading over the house, picked up on that this shadow thought that he was, the guy there was the warden of him, and that the shadow felt trapped. And so her advice was, you know, give this entity love and light and let it know that it can move on. And he did that and hasn't seen anything of it in over a year.
Wow.
yeah.
So,
I mean, so many people are just, it has to be their way. There's no way it could be any other way. It has to be just that way. They're not open to anything else. It has to be evil. It has to be the devil, like we said.
Right.
It can't be, you know, like you said, just something that needs to move on. And
I think if it's a little girl, it's a devil.
It's a devil.
Oh, you know better.
No, you definitely have to keep an open mind.
Yes.
And in the introduction of my book, I do state right in there, I reserve the right to change my mind. What I think I know now is different than what I thought I knew 10 years ago, is different than what I'm going to believe 10 years from now, because we learn things, we take in new information, and our opinions on a lot of different things change. When it comes to shadow entities, 10 years ago, I thought that human spirits were human spirits. Shadow entities were shadow entities, two completely different things. But yet, you know, I'm talking to people, I'm doing presentations on shadow people, and I was having, you know, a number of people would come up and be like, well, you know, I had this interaction with a shadow that I thought, you know, was my relative. The one that really kind of kept, you know, poking at me with this was my good friend Rob Guttrow. He's a psychic medium. He does a lot of work with pets, and he in the expanded version, the new version of A Walk in the Shadows, I had him add a nice bigger section in there on shadow pets, which is great. But he has a story about his aunt that appeared to him as a shadow to deliver a message to his mother, because his mother just wasn't listening to her at all. It was her sister. They had some sort of falling out, and she was like, I really need to get a message to her, and wanted Rob to be able to deliver the message. But she had expended so much energy that she couldn't fully manifest as an apparition and only manifested as a shadow. Well, I trust Rob with my life. He's a genuine guy. And he kept poking at me with this for years. And finally, I kind of succumbed to, okay, I've been hearing this from Rob for a while. All these other people have told me these, different stories in which, it really does sound like some of these shadow entities are human spirits. But then finally, I saw for myself the rolling black smoke into the apparition of a little girl. It's like, okay, fine. That just kind of sealed it right there.
Yeah, that would be enough for me. I was going to say something about the beginning of your book, where you talked about the,
Graham Hancock even.
Yeah, well, and that was another thing, right? So I'm a big fan of Graham Hancock, and I've read a lot of his books and everything. But when you said you reserve the right to change your mind, so don't hold me to what I'm saying today for what my next book or the book after that might say. Don't say that I'm contradicting myself. And I really, thought that was pretty great because. And then you talked about Graham Hancock, how, his views changed over time, and over time, that's going to happen. Views are going to change, and new science or new something's going to come out, and you're going to see that, hey, maybe I wasn't on the right side, but at the same time, that shows that you're up for the fact that if it does change, I'm okay with that. I'm not stuck to this one thing,
Yeah, exactly. And I loved Graham. I'm glad that you brought him up because, with Fingerprints of the Gods that came out in 1995, in his research at that time, he had some specific views. Is that, the theory that he was adhering to at that time had to do with Earth crust displacement. Fast forward 20 years, comes out with Magicians of the Gods, which is like the sequel to it. And he had changed his views to, comet impact. And people were getting on his case about, well, you told us Earth crust displacement, back then. He's like, look, 20 years have passed. I've learned new things. I can change my mind. And it's very different in the world of academia where, a lot of these, scientists and researchers and archaeologists are kind of pigeonholed into, one particular belief, something that they may have come up with 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they feel like they have to stick to it because, they might lose their funding.
Yep.
All the books will have to be changed, all these different things. So they stick to their guns on a theory that, the longer and longer and longer you go, just it has to get thrown out. Like, the dating of the Sphinx. Yes. How many guys are still holding on to, that it's only like 4,000 years old.
Everybody in Egypt, all don't. They won't let go of it.
They will not let go. The Hito Watch will not let go of it. Yeah,
right. And we've got empirical data that shows that weathering was from water erosion and not wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the geologists are looking at it. The geologists, this is their area of expertise, right. And they're like, no, that's at least 10,000 years old. And one of the excuses that the Egyptologists would throw out back then was like, well, we don't have any other structures like this on the planet that are that old. How can you possibly say this is 10,000 years old? And then go back when Tepe pops up. Yeah.
And then have you heard about what is that? Padal or I forgot what that is.
Non-Padang.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was in that book, Magicians of the Gods, where he was talking about his buddy that was there, and they were doing the samples, and that they had got back to 22,000 years.
Yeah, they keep finding this stuff that's older and older and older.
Yeah, and I'm with Graham Hancock as far as that goes. As far as the pre-diluvial civilization, we have multiple times, multiple places, even in Native American culture where they talk about, the first, world, and then the second, and then the third, and we're living in the fourth age right now, and all this stuff. And everybody just chalks it up to crazy people, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, everything in this universe is a cycle, and so we've been through several cycles. And I think what the issue is that when you talk about there being civilizations with high technology 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 years ago, people automatically think high technology, cell phones and computers. It's like, no, we're not saying that they had cell phones and computers. They had other technology that was higher for that time than, say, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. And that knowledge was lost over time, whether it was because, the Great Flood, all civilizations talk about there being a Great Flood. A lot of that knowledge was lost from that flood. And so, however they move those freaking blocks, we have no idea, because we're some of them still cannot be moved today with the technology that we have.
Yep.
And in most of them, it's like we just recently came into being able to move that stuff. So how in the world did they move it back then? You cannot say manpower and rollers. And no, they had some other form of technology that we don't know what that is, but that it was certainly a higher form of technology, not computers, not cell phones, but other types of technology that the knowledge of that has been lost to time. And so Graham talks about, and I love his example of, if all of a sudden we had another great cataclysm right now, who would be left over? All the people in the corporate offices and all that would not survive. All the, the scientists that have all of this knowledge of how things, work, as far as, like DNA and all that stuff is going to be lost. It's going to be the people that know how to survive out in the woods that'll live. And so it's whatever their knowledge is that they have that's going to survive.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened back in the day. The people that built those huge structures, the basically engineers of that time, they were wiped out. They couldn't survive because even though they had these great engineering skills, they didn't know how to go get food. And so, and so they, so they died off.
Yeah. And that's where you have the hunter gatherers that were still around at that time. And we still have them today. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's not possible. But we have tribes that are still untouched. And actually there's laws against going there and even communicating with them. I mean, we have... Yeah,
who'll be around? It'd be those reindeer hunters in Russia. Yes. That their whole livelihood is based off of the reindeer, where it's like they eat the reindeer, they herd the reindeer, they just pick off one here, one there, and all their clothing is the reindeer. For those people will survive.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing you talk about how we do with technology now. Everybody has to look at their phone 24/7, seems like it. And if something did happen,
I see that all the time.
Whether it's with a solar flare or however it is that somehow the grid goes down or something, and we can't get it back up, and then we get back to the old ways. How many people could be self-sufficient? Could they really take care of themselves? And like you said, probably that's what happened. They were so smart, they had so much technology, but when it came down to growing food or taking care of themselves, or like if even with the technology, the machines that you have, how to do the components to it or the software to it, but do you know how to dig up the ore from the ground? Do you know how to smelt it or melt it down?
Right, exactly. Who knows how to smelt metal anymore?
Yeah. Right.
Just do it in your backyard. Everybody does it, right? No. And, who knows what the technology was with the Egyptians. Maybe the Nile was closer. They used the water or vibrations or anything. And that is the question. How was it done? But nobody wants to admit that possibly someone was smarter.
Frequency and vibrations.
Frequency and vibrations, yeah. Because we're the top, right? No one
That's
has
what they
ever,
think, yeah.
we know everything. No one has ever been as advanced as us right now.
Humans are always so arrogant like that.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. And, you know, that's half the problem is the fact that we think that, you know, where we are right now today is it. But, you know, there's a split always, if you really look at it. You can go the way of technology and everything else, but you could also go more of a homeopathic type way too, and live more of the earth, and still have technology and still have other things, but not be as immersed in it as we are today. And you know, just for instance, if we would have taken Tesla and allowed him to be his full potential, and allow him to do what it is that Tesla does or did, then where would we be today versus where we are now? You know, and so that could be our pasts. You know, the people in the past and one of these other civilizations.
Yeah, Tesla had some knowledge from the ancient past. I think he had an idea of, you know, how a lot of those things, like the pyramids. You know, we talk about like the pyramids, or, you know, a lot of the ancient standing stones that, you know, are tapping into those you know, telluric currents from the earth and utilizing the earth's energy grid to, you know, either, you know, use it for power or use it for healing or use it to enter altered states of consciousness. And you look at what he was trying to do with the Wycliffe Tower. You know, he was trying to tap into that earth energy. He knew he was stopped because J.P. Morgan's like, well, wait a minute, where am I going to get money out of this?
Right. We can't put a meter on this and meter it. So,
right. Yeah, J.P. Morgan wanted some money, and once he figured out he wasn't going to get paid out of this, he took all of his funding away from Tesla. And that was that. And it's really sad. But yeah, I mean, we do have an issue where if something were to seriously happen, I mean, people right now know, okay, if I want food, I go to the grocery store. Well, there's a really interesting book. It's called 1 Second After. And the premise is that an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, hits the United States. And so, you know, all electronic devices, the entire electric grid, everything is down indefinitely. And what happens? It's an interesting study. It's a fiction book. It's a novel, but the author does a really good job in examining how humans would interact with each other, you know, how they would survive in this sort of cataclysm where, you know, they've been, you know, all their dependency has been on electronics. Well, now there is no grocery store. You know, there's, you know, most of your cars are, you know, can't work because they're all electronically run. The only cars that are working are the ones from, you know, like pre-1990 or whatever. You know, so it's really bizarre and interesting how people turn on each other, you know, so quickly. So I recommend the book for anybody who, you know, kind of wants a glimpse into what would happen if suddenly we didn't have, you know, all these luxuries anymore. And yeah, a lot of people would die. What we have in our system right now, it doesn't sustain the population. If it was just to all stop at this very moment. You know, because we just keep churning out food from, you know, our different, you know, farms and food centers that we have set up. Well, if all of a sudden we can't deliver that, you know, we saw last year, you know, how all of a sudden the shelves were not stocked. I mean, we're talking that, but on a much more dangerous level.
Right. We had CKV in the chat room that says, you want to see how smart people are, take away Google.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so you should learn some, you know, survival skills and how to be able to sustain yourself, you know, should something happen where you have no power or anything like that for a long time. I mean, I have a wood burning fireplace here, and it's like, you know, if something were to happen, you know, I was talking about this with my parents not too long ago. My father, when he retired, he and my mother, built a new house, and he hadn't put in a fireplace. And so he's thinking, I think I want to go back and put in a fireplace. He's talking about putting in a gas fireplace. And I'm like, well, that's fine, Dad. I'm glad you want to put in a fireplace, because I know Mom likes fireplaces and everything. But but why gas? What if something happens with the infrastructure where the gas can't be delivered anymore? Which he thought was a little nuts or whatever. He's like, well, they're cleaner, and it's kind of cost effective. You don't have to worry about the firewood and everything, because he's no longer living near the woods. He kind of moved in town, and so he can't go chop his own wood anymore.
Just chop your neighbor's tree down.
Yeah, chop your neighbor's tree down. So it's like, okay, there's a cost with the wood, and you have cleanup and all that. So he's kind of citing that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but all of a sudden, we see the world going crazy here. What if all of a sudden, the infrastructure goes down, we lose electricity, we lose access to gas? That gas fireplace isn't going to do you very, very good anymore. I got a wood burning one here. I'm good to go. Because all I have to do is throw the wood in there, and I'll have to figure out how to become my own chimney sweep every couple of years, but I won't get cold.
Yeah, go ahead and buy the equipment. What's ever going to fit for you. Yeah, I like it that you went into this with me. Sometimes we squirrel away from our main topic, but you didn't miss a beat. You're right up with it.
Yeah. I do want to get back to something that it's I just wonder if you've heard of a project called Stargate.
Oh yeah, with remote viewing with the U.S. government. Yep.
Yes. Did you?
Absolutely.
Did you look at the declassified documents on Shadow People?
I mean, I've seen a little bit of the Project Stargate documentation. I haven't been through all of that. I kind of have the general premise and idea of them utilizing remote viewers to spy on. Well, the idea was to spy on Russia at the time, of course. Well, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. They you probably have heard of it. Well, you said you heard of it, but they give the guy who was doing the remote viewing an envelope with the word Mars and some coordinates in it. So he does his remote viewing thing, and he comes up, and they try not to go into too much detail. I mean, the CIA agent didn't want him to go into too much detail. He just wanted him to tell him what he's seen. So he says he's seen shadowy figures on Mars that were coming in and out, and it was like they was just fading in and out, but they was tall, slim shadow people. And the landscape was pyramids and all kind of ovuluses and everything. But he said he could tell that they were trying to save the planet. And that's just interesting to me. I even looked at the declassified document, and it was pretty interesting that he saw all this.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff about from some of those old documents, not necessarily Project Stargate, but others who said that we would find old structures on Mars. That there had been a civilization there, of course, long since gone, and of course we haven't seen any of that yet. With our like the Mars rover or anything like that yet, but they probably wouldn't show us anyway.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they would.
We lost the live feed somehow.
Yeah.
Sort of like they did whenever we
An
landed on the moon.
An EMP just hit the rover. It's dead. There goes.
So we start talking about Mars and Project Stargate and all that, so they cut us right off.
Right.
Tell you, Is that black helicopter outside?
We've actually had during the show, and it was a while. What was it? It was about a year ago, wasn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it was about a year ago.
and we was in the middle of a conversation we was doing a conspiracy show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I live out here is you don't really get helicopters and things like that.
No, we don't get the helicopters around here.
No.
We're not near the army base, anything like that.
But
where
you
they might
could
be doing
literally
stuff.
hear, even in the microphones, you could literally hear, and we're sitting there going, "What is that? What is going on?" And then all the internet it's gone. It's gone for about 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then it pops back up.
That was our show with Matt Sieber, right? Where we got cut out 20 times.
No, that happened too, but no, it was a different show. We was talking conspiracy theory that night.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it was weird. It really was. And I was like, man, if we're that big, we need to start making some money off this or something.
Well,
what's going on?
Hey, we got Mike Ricksecker on the show. That is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to appreciate you coming
yes.
and talking with us.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming and having a conversation with us and having some fun.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I do appreciate it.
Hope you come back sometime.
Anything you want to talk about, because, I mean, you have such a large list of interests that you're part of, and it's so fascinating.
Well, it's all connected. So we have to, not just, it's not just about shadow entities. I mean, that is a part of it. It's not just about ghosts, but that's a part of it. All these things are interconnected. They're all related. From our ancient history to everything that's going on out in the cosmos. These things are all a part of each other. So yeah, we got to dig into it all.
Yeah. It just feels wrong by sitting back and listening to mainstream and this is it. This is how everything is. I don't know. To me, it feels wrong. It's like, that's not the truth. And
they have a narrative they want to tell. They have a narrative they want to tell and give you they'll throw you a bone on occasion, but there's so much more.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm all up for every bit of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I read as much as I can on all of it. And I have for, I guess I was 18 years old and I started, really delving deep into this stuff and getting, Fingerprints of the Gods or not that, I'm sorry, Chariots of the Gods, was my first book that I bought. And I started going really deep into that and it just went from there, so yeah, this is all these subjects, like you said, I think, are very interrelated. That's for dang sure. Hey, Mike, would you like to go ahead and tell everybody about, where they could pick up your books, A Walk in the Shadows, or any of your other books, and your
websites,
your websites and your YouTube account and everything,
and what's going on in the future for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they can catch
absolutely.
you next time.
Yeah. Well, you can find me at MikeRicksecker.com. Of course, all the links out there to Walk in the Shadows and all my other books are there. You can find the stuff on Amazon as well. YouTube channels, you have Haunted Road Media, which has over 700 videos on there. So you can see a lot of my Shadow People videos out there, as well as all kinds of other stuff. Edge of the Rabbit Hole is the Tuesday night show, so you can watch that at the Edge of the Rabbit Hole YouTube channel, and then we have all the podcasts and everything after that. Beyond the Shadows is the other show that I do on Wednesday nights. If you want to watch and participate in that live stream, you have to do so through the Connected Universe portal. So that's connecteduniverseportal.com, which also has a bunch of great articles and videos, or behind the scenes and sneak peeks of the Shadow Dimension out there, which is my docu-series that'll be coming out here in the next month or two. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Awesome.
Which you can
That's going to be
watch
on
the
video.
trailer. Yeah, that'll be on a variety of streaming services. You can check out this trailer right now on shadowdimension.com, and I got a bunch of other information and stills from the series out there right now. But yeah, there's well, I mean, it was supposed to originally come out on Amazon, then Amazon changed all their policies back in February, so I had to go with some other distribution, and right now 3 services that have picked up on it. They haven't released it yet. And then, it's basically over the next couple months there'll be other services picking up on it and distributing it. So once I have all of that information as to like when and where it's going to be, I'll be posting about that.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
See, we can do all this research just by paying attention to what he's done.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. You've been listening to Project Dark Corona podcast with Mike Ricksecker. And he brought a lot of information tonight. I really appreciate him coming and talking with us.
Yes. And the book we was talking about for the first 2/3 of the show was a walk in the shadow and or shadows. But I, as a truck driver, listened to it on Audible, and Mike actually did the voices for that too, didn't you, Mike?
I did. I did the yes, read by the author, read by me. That will the second edition of that will come out on audio as well. So right now it's a little strange because you can read the second edition, but the audio book is the first edition. So in the next few months here, we'll get the second edition on audio as well.
Is there any way that a person could buy the book and get a signature?
What you'd have to do for that, aside from visiting me at one of these conventions, which I have several coming up, the Parapsychon here in Ohio, the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference out in Laughlin, Nevada, and some others. Yeah, that's coming up. So yeah, join us there. That's gonna be phenomenal. That's like a week long, all kinds of amazing speakers and other things that are going on. But if you want to get an autograph copy from me, just go to my website, go through the contact page, and what I'll do once I have your contact information is I'll shoot you over an invoice, and then pay that. I'll mail it out.
That sounds good because.
Well, we sort of like to get that from the different authors we get on here.
Yes.
Yeah, we collect books with signatures.
Okay.
Yes, we've got bunches.
Very
of them,
cool.
So,
yeah.
like I said, I've already got the one, but I want an actual book. So I just got to figure out how to get it with the signature.
Yeah.
Can we ask you how we want it inscribed?
You can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
I guess I can bug him, send him another email or something.
To the greatest podcast ever.
There you go. or no, you can only be 1A or 1B. We're us and Mike are on the same level. That's what it is. Yeah, we're both awesome.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, when I was listening to you was on another podcast on Monday. Actually, it was a live show, but
Jimmy Church.
Yeah, Fade to Black. I listen to it about every day because it comes on before.
You got me listening to it.
Yeah, it's a really good show. And you were talking about that, or he said that you have one of your shows come on the KGRA.
Yeah, both the shows are on KGRA. So basically, they're syndicated versions of Edge of the Rabbit Hole and Beyond the Shadows. So our broadcast from Tuesday nights for Edge of the Rabbit Hole runs midnight on Friday night, and then for Beyond the Shadows, that's midnight on Saturday night.
Well,
that's another way you can hear him.
There you go.
I'm driving usually both of those days. Friday night. Friday night, I'm usually driving, so I definitely have to start checking that out.
There you go.
So
yeah, listen to us there as well.
Yeah, I'm a big KGRA listener, so
Okay, cool.
But we've kept you little over the 2 hours. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And but we definitely want to thank you and ask if maybe we could contact you again sometime and get you back on.
Sure.
Talking about whatever you want to talk
Absolutely.
about.
Really do appreciate it.
Yes.
This has been an awesome show. You're full of so much information.
Yes.
Maybe he's going to investigate something and find the truth.
Hey.
The truth
Well,
is
we try.
interdimensional beings. Yes.
See, you really got Jason when you said interdimensional. That was his thing. He loves them.
Everything we talk about Bigfoot.
I think
interdimensional.
ghosts, the Bigfoot. I think anything that's paranormal that's not in our, what would you say, not in the laws of physics here,
or in our 3-dimensional
right,
universe.
is
Not in our plane of existence.
Yeah.
right in another dimension.
There you go.
I
See,
believe it.
even though we squirrel away, it's all connected. Yeah.
It's all connected. There you go.
Well,
That's
Mike,
awesome.
we really thank you for coming and hope you've enjoyed being with us. I mean,
Absolutely.
We try.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a good time.
thank you.
Thank you very much, and you have a good night, and we'll look
We'll keep
forward
in
to
touch.
talking to
Yeah.
you again sometime.
Thank you.
Mike
All right, we'll
Ricksecker.
talk to you later. Have a great night, guys.
All right,
All right,
thank
bye-bye.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
All right, man. That was a great show.
That was a great show, everybody. That was Mike Ricksecker. His book is A Walk in the Shadows that we was talking about tonight, and this was fascinating. We are simulcasting live on Spreaker and on Podbean. That's awesome. And I'll tell you what's crazy is that at some point we won't have to ask you to download anything because you just come to our website.
Oh yeah.
Possibly at the end of the month or sooner.
Yeah, from the information I got today, they are over 75% done with the new website.
Wow.
And we gave them the RSS feed for Spreaker,
Mm-hmm.
and it's already up and running on the new website.
Okay.
So the guys may be listening to us right now.
While he's working
While
on
he's
it.
working on the website.
No, them guys are asleep.
Well, it was 2:00 in the morning earlier when we was talking to them there.
okay.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, so definitely everybody check out the new website. Just keep coming. We'll let everybody know when it's a thing, but just project.corona.org. Visit us, and you'll know when you come to the new website because
And
it's
we'll
just
let you know when
awesomeness.
it's time to transition into it.
Yeah. Yes, and you're gonna love it for sure.
Yeah.
Lee's going to tell us about next week's show.
Yes, next week's
yeah.
shows, Lee.
Yep, it's going to be awesome. We're going to have Kathleen Martin, who's going to talk about alien abduction. Now, she's the niece of Betty and Barney Hill, and she's the utmost expert on the case as well. And she's also documented countless other abductions. And she's also into, this whole disclosure thing that everybody is starting to learn about finally. She's been doing this for years and years about what the government is hiding from us. So she can talk to us about that as well. Yeah, perhaps Shadow People is in with it too. Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah. And like I said, she's one of the utmost ufologists in the world. If anybody talks about Betty and Barney Hill, if you see any TV show, if you listen
Yes,
to anything,
she's on it.
She's the one that they're talking to.
Yeah, I've seen numerous episodes of stuff where they started talking about Barney Hill, and there she was, talking about the case.
So, I mean, if you want to go check her out, you could go to Kathleen-Martin.com, and you can check out the stuff that she has going on and everything. And like Dave always says, just go to our Facebook page and go to the events and say you're wanting to attend, so you'll get your reminders on it.
Absolutely. And while you're there, all of our past shows, well, I can't say all. Some of our past shows are still there. We won't get into that if you don't
whenever
understand.
we get the website up, we'll be able to have everything up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once the website's up, we will have an events tab. You will be able to do the same thing that you do now on the Facebook page. It's just going to be on the website. It's going to be an all one-stop shop So you'll get all your information off the website. You'll also, because you're logged in, because you got a membership, a free membership that's going to be free and paid. But we'll talk about that more when the website's there. But the free membership, you'll be able to, blog and you'll be able to do all this stuff, post pictures, post videos, and also listen to the live shows. And again, we're going to have our own, we'll have our ability for you to, not only while you're listening to us, but we'll be able to post pictures in the chat rooms. You'll be able to chat with us. It's all going to be there, and you won't have to download anything to do it. So, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and promote a little bit more because this month, this is a pretty big month for Project Dark Corona. We just had Mike Ricksecker on talking about shadow people. That was our first guest for the month. And like I said, we're going to have Kathleen Martin talking about alien abduction. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, May 15th, we're going to have Doug Waller. And he's going to be talking about Bigfoot sightings. He's an investigator. He's got, I think it's 5 books on the subject. And then we'll have J.B. Coates. She's a paranormal investigator, and she also has 3 books. And she's our friend from down in South Vicksburg Hospital. Yes. And then May 29th, I think this is one the guys been excited about for a while. We're going to have Lyle Blackburn.
Woo!
And he's going to talk about all kinds of legendary cryptids, So
yes.
It's a pretty big month, so definitely need to mark it.
We need to get that other guy, that one. He's in our chat room right now, but he's real big here in Tennessee.
Yeah, it would be nice if Matt Sieber could.
Yeah. He's been on the show a few times.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Sieber's over
Matt
here.
Sieber, we love you if you're listening.
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
and you can call in anytime.
Yes, anytime you will get on the show.
The thing that I love about Matt Sieber is not only is he a friend to the show, but he was on the show before we were ever anything.
Oh yeah, we had 3 people listening.
Yeah, I mean, he was on our show before we had a following, and he stuck with us, and we really appreciate all that Matt Sieber has done for us and everything, and
he may have went to bed by now, but
East Tennessee Bigfoot.
Yeah, he was winding down.
East Tennessee Bigfoot.org, and if you know one of the commercials we play. Hey, I'm Matt Sieber from East Tennessee Bigfoot. That's the guy we're talking about. So we have to give props to him too.
Yeah. Perhaps we'll see him at the Bigfoot conference.
Oh, he'll be there. Yeah.
In July in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yes. And that's going to be great. And so tell everybody, Lee, why are we having all these Bigfoot people come on?
I thought I could get everybody in the squatching mood, get you in there. I mean, we do have quite a bit. What's wrong? Oh goodness!
Jason's about to.
He's got the hiccups.
He got the hiccups. Half his drink came out. Okay, but like I said, got Doug Waller, got Lyle Blackburn, and we got Scott Vellante, and then we got Stephen Major. And if we can get Matt Sieber on before, open invitation the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd week of July, Matt, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on too. And that way we can get people into the mood, since we'll be at the Bigfoot conference. I'm sure we'll take all kinds of pictures, maybe do some live videos, stuff like that, get everybody involved, try to maybe even do some interviews if we're lucky.
We might bring our new system too, because we've got the new system that's more portable.
Okay.
No plug-ins.
No plug-ins.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's all battery operated.
Yeah.
Well, you can do both, but
do both. Okay.
Actually, it's charged by a laptop.
So as long as no entities come around to drain it, we'll be okay with batteries.
So we're gonna have to stay away from any kind of entities at the Bigfoot conference. That would be catastrophic.
Yeah. And if you're new to the show, we talk about more than Bigfoot. We're just telling you what's going on with us there. I mean, it is everything paranormal. So, the ghosts, the cryptids, aliens, shadow people like tonight, forbidden history, stuff that they don't want you to know, and stuff like that. All kinds of stuff goes on in Project Dark Corona.
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything, and all you have to do is go to our Facebook page, Everything Paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, Aliens, and Ghosts. Go into the events tab and search for yourself. I mean, you'll see all the people that we've got coming on, and it ranges from one side to the other, and we actually had to kind of put a stop because it got. I mean, literally at one point we was over 6 months ahead of ourselves. And we had to kind of slow it down just a little bit because I think honestly, that Lee would have already had us booked up for the year.
Yeah, I mean,
easily.
I have people sending me emails all the time wanting to be on the show. I mean, that's no joke. I mean, I've got at least 10 more people that I could book at any time.
Right. Yeah.
I just tell them, hey, this is the date.
Right.
I mean, and it's paranormal investigators that are on TV that most of y'all would know if you saw them. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen,
Zach Bagans.
No.
Well, I think that with our crowd, he might not fit in. I don't know. We're nicer.
What about his counterpart?
His counterpart? Well,
Paranormal Lockdown. We need to get in touch with him.
Okay. I'll check and see what I can do.
No, the
guys.
ones that you had talked about, though.
Yeah. I've got some pretty good
what were
ones.
their names?
Well, okay, if you want me.
Yeah, I mean, just.
I mean,
name
it's not in our events. It's just.
Yes, this is possible.
They're.
Well, it ain't even. It's possible. It's that all they're waiting for is for us to say, "Hey, this is when."
Right. I mean, no, they're on there. If you really want to know, they're on there for August 7th. It's Jay and Marie Yates, and they're going to talk about their paranormal experiences. And like I said,
they've got a show.
Yeah, and that it's in the
Portals
second
of Hell.
No,
no, but
that's not them. That's that's Jack.
Isn't there one from like Portals of Hell or something like that? That's 1 and 2. There's 2 of them.
Well, I'm here it is. They're putting me on the spot.
I am.
But
Sorry, Lee, come on now. I know you got it on there, and you got a PDA.
It's not Jack Osborne, but I could possibly get his co-host on.
Ozzy?
No, not Ozzy. The lady.
Jack and Ozzy, Jack's his son.
No, those might be a little bit harder to get on, but it's.
Well.
Oh goodness. Well, I try my best to get the best guest on here for you.
You do it. You do an excellent job, and we have to say thanks for the job that you do on getting us guests because it works.
Yeah, and
I mean, just think tonight, Mike Ricksecker.
Yeah,
and
big time, Mike.
Yeah, and we, I'm very, very happy that he came on, and like Lee was saying just a minute ago, you could go on to our Facebook page into events. You go into past events, and you could see these people, and still pull up where his website is, where to buy his books, and all of that stuff. Lee puts every bit of that in every one of those. So
also, I want to read something Lee put on Everything Paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, Aliens, and Ghosts. Is how to support your podcasting friends.
Yeah,
do it.
Give them a shout out.
Costs nothing.
Follow the show.
Don't cost nothing.
Tell a friend.
Don't cost nothing.
Engage with their posts.
That don't cost nothing.
Root for them.
Yeah.
Woo! That don't cost nothing.
All right. That's what we expect.
Yeah.
From all of our Facebook.
You know what the total
followers.
of that is? $0.
$0.
And we would appreciate you.
Yeah, and that's how me getting involved started. Just listening to my buds' podcast, and I was scared to even call in because I thought, who would want to hear from me? Why would they want to hear my voice? And now they can't shut me up. I'm sitting here with them and everything. But, you know, I love them. I support them. I just think it's an awesome show. And I just thought maybe I could help them out and promote it a little bit and get some awesome guests on because, you know, they've been trying so hard for so long. Like they said, sometimes it'd be 3 people listening to it. And, you know, we'll get 100 people listening to this show by this time tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, exactly. You know, and in the last year, we've grown exponentially compared to where we were.
And perhaps with the website coming up, you can possibly get 1,000 a day or 10,000 a day, and then just goes from there. And
yes,
you and Michelle don't have to be truck drivers no more. That'd be awesome, right?
Oh, you already spoke to her.
I spoke to Michelle. She's like, there we go. Yeah, come on, people, support us. Share with a friend. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Get the word out for Project Dark Corona.
She said that right there already is worth the price of paying to get the website built. But you know, we do it because you know, we do like what we do. And besides just liking what we do, there comes a time where you're like, can I talk to other people about this? Can I won't want to say enlighten because I don't want to make myself seem like I'm anything more than what I am, but have guests on that are experts in their field. And then they can teach all of us something when they come on. And so my job, Jason's job, and when Lee's here, our job is to try to ask questions or to engage in this conversation to where we can, you know, talk about this in a way to where you learn something from it. And that's really what we believe that we should do. That is the heart and soul of Project Dark Corona. Is just engaging in good conversation and everybody learning. I learned something tonight. I learned things tonight, you know, that I didn't know. And I read his book, you know, and it's fascinating. And so, you know, I hope everybody else that listens to this learns something too.
All right.
Well, we are going to call it a night, everybody. And going to thank everybody for showing up, for being active in the chat rooms. And everybody have a good night. And we'll see you next Saturday. Who's on next Saturday again?
We're going to have Kathleen Martin. She's going to talk about alien abductions.
Now, Kathleen is
Betty and Barney Hill's niece.
Ooh.
But she's famous in her own right.
Yes.
Like I said, she was a famous ufologist way before she ever did her book. Stanton Freeman sort of encouraged her to go ahead and do the book because other people had done books on the abduction, but she's like, they're leaving so much stuff out.
Yeah.
That's not how it really happened.
But
Betty
and Barney Hill was the first publicized abduction.
Yes.
Yeah. And they even did a made-for-TV movie that had, oh, great, now here's my old man moment. I forgot the name. The guy that does the voice of Darth Vader, he was the lead actor. He played Barney.
Wow.
Yeah. Now everybody's like
That's
saying,
cool.
come on, man, why don't you...
I think I have just been abducted.
And it'll come to me as soon as the show ends, but I'm so sorry. His name escapes me.
Okay, guess what? We just gave them something to Google.
You can Google
it.
Yeah.
You know? Hey, Google. So, but we want to thank everybody, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Welcome to Project Dark Corona. Project Dark Corona presents Project Dark Corona Podcast. Coming to you live from an underground bunker at an undisclosed location deep within the Appalachian Mountains bringing you the strange and unknown with your hosts David and Jason. You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast.